Hey everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. So if you were like me, you probably went a little bit crazy with your diet during Christmas and Thanksgiving, and now probably wondering, what should I do? I've actually gone berserk with my eating habits, and I want to know what to do. So we're going to be talking about Ultraprevention, which I think is a great book. It's written by Dr. Mark Liponis as well as Dr. Mark Hyman, both at the Canyon Ranch in the Berkshires. And the book is generally a recipe that you can be following for the rest of your life, but it's a fantastic book. It has a whole bunch of taking the common myths that we have about food and debunking them, of which I really was surprised because I really believed in many of these myths until reading the book. So welcome.
Thanks, CJ. It's great to be here again.
There's so many things that I love about this book. I feel like in some ways what we should do is everyone should get this book and read it once they have a body, which which I think means I'm almost feeling like, how can I tell my kids this information aside from continuing? I tell them a lot of stuff because I'm kind of a fanatic about this stuff, but I really do feel like we just don't even know about our bodies and how they work, like you say in the book, and we trust doctors who are well-intentioned, meaning doctors that are busy though they can't keep on top of a lot of this research. So love this book because of that. And I just looked, it's a book that was written in 2003.
Yeah, it's 11 years old, 12 years old now, and that means some of the things have changed a little bit, but I'd say most of the foundation of the book is solid and still makes sense even after another 13 years of research. So it's reasonable. We can talk about what areas have changed and sort of new insights around some of these ideas, but I think most of it is still important and valid, and really trying to shed light on some of the newest understandings of how the body works.
Yeah. So what are the things I would like to touch upon? What are the kind of newest, because it's an older book, but still quite relevant. What are some of the new things that you're now learning?
Well, let's just take the first sort of step, or the first force of illness, which is this oxidative stress.
Mm-hmm.
And what oxidative stress means is that the energy production by our body produces some harmful byproducts that our body is stressed by and has to deal with. They're called free radicals, and the concept is that when we turn food into energy, the cost of that is in the production of some waste products that the body has to be able to eliminate.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of these waste products can severely influence our health. It's probably one of the primary reasons why people that overeat have all of these problems and complications, because their body is trying to always deal with the excess production of free radicals by virtue of the amount of energy that they're taking in. And so that concept hasn't changed. In fact, it's still, if anything, still very important and valid. The idea being we can help protect our bodies from the stress of free radicals by trying to eat less.
Right.
And eating less is one of the most successful strategies for living longer, because our body doesn't have so many of these waste products to have to process every time we eat a meal. And that's why people that are quite old are oftentimes quite small people. When you see somebody that's 100 years old or 95 years old, they're usually not big, burly people,
Right.
With extra weight. They're people that are tiny, that don't eat that much in terms of calories. They've protected themselves from the free radicals that are generated from overeating.
Right, so I want to just ask a quick question about that, because so it's about the quantity that you eat. The larger quantity that you eat, the harder your system has to work.
Yeah.
In actually dealing with these free radicals. So and one of the suggestions that you have is to watch the amount of calories that you're eating. Do you have a suggested range of calories that we should be eating, presuming that they're all nutritious calories? What's your suggested range of a healthy calorie consumption? And I know it probably varies by age, but is there a range?
Yeah, there sure is, and your point is a good one, and that is that if we're trying to control what we eat, how do we know how much we're supposed to eat, and how do we get a handle on that? And you're right in that each person's calorie intake can vary a lot. based on their own metabolism and their size and of course their age. And we think about 4 variables as influencing how much we should eat. The most important one being gender. The next most important being, because as you know, men and women have different portion sizes.
Yeah.
If you go to a restaurant, the women can't eat as much as the men, and that's because men, generally speaking, have faster metabolism.
One would think so. If you sit down with my husband and me, you'd kind of wonder what was going on. Oh yeah, I can plow down food.
Your own?
I think I have a very high metabolism, at least when I was younger, so I would eat more food than the guys around me. It's kind of scary. But yes, I think so that's one of the factors, gender.
Gender's a big factor. Age is a big factor.
What did you say
Age.
Age, okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, every 10 years, our daily metabolism drops by 100 calories, roughly. And what that means is every decade, we have to reduce our daily caloric intake by about 100 calories.
Oh, no.
Yeah. If I was eating the same amount now, as I'm 56, I'll be 57 soon, as I did when I was, let's say, 36, I'd be gaining 20 pounds a year.
Wow, okay.
That's how much different the metabolism is now than it was just 20 years ago. So every 10 years we have to shave 100 calories a day off of our intake, or we'll be the subject of excess calories. So gender is a big factor, age is a big factor, your size, your height is a big factor. So taller people, of course, need more calories. Smaller people, shorter people need fewer calories. That's a big factor. Okay. And of course, the amount of lean body mass that someone has. If you weigh 150, but you're 45% body fat, you need a lot fewer calories than a person that weighs the same, but is only 20% body fat. And that's because the muscle requires more calories to keep it going.
Okay, let's take the average person, like the average male, 5'10", average amount of body fat. What would you say is the amount of calories for the average male? And I know it varies based on all those factors. But
based on the age, especially, because now you've given me the gender and the weight.
Yeah, let's say it's like a middle-aged person, right? Because that's your typical client over.
Well, let's do this. Let's look at me. I think that's easy for people to see because, they've got an example right there. I'm 56 and... I'm sort of 5'10", and I weigh 175, and that means I should be taking in about 1,700 calories a day.
1,700? That's hardly anything.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, how about me? I'm an average woman, and I'm not... Okay, I'll tell you I'm female. Let's see, I'm 52, going down 52. I'm 5'5", and I would say I'm fatter. Like, I'm probably like 25% body fat, even when I was actually pretty healthy.
You're probably closer to 1,600 calories, probably at least 100 calories less per day than I, even though I'm older. And that's because you're a woman and you're shorter.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, that's sort of a guesstimate, but I think that's about right. And, it's interesting. You bring up this question of how many calories, and people think that there's a set calorie intake for themselves. And the trouble is this. People don't realize that our body is always changing its metabolism.
Right.
It's constantly adjusting itself based on our energy balance. So, for example, if all the wheels came off during the holidays and we really, all caution to the wind and we ate everything that we saw and we really overdid it.
Yeah, that pretty much describes my holiday.
January, and we've got to lose all this weight that we gained over the holidays, and we measured our metabolism. It would measure high.
Huh.
And the reason is our body is trying to get rid of all those extra calories that we just took on the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Right. Our body wants to retain its set point, the natural...
You got it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And the same is true in the other direction. In other words, if you were restricting calories, you were dieting, you were losing weight, you were trying to, take off a few pounds, and we measured your metabolism, it would measure low.
Wow.
And that's because your energy balance is negative, your body's trying to conserve calories, it slows down your metabolism to bring you back to that set point, right?
Right.
And so those hormones are very powerful, and that means that our metabolism is constantly adjusting itself to return us to our previous weight.
Right. And how is a set point established? Because,
established by body fat.
Okay.
It's our body fat that establishes our set point for weight.
Okay.
It does that by making a hormone called leptin and others, including adiponectin, ghrelin, and others, but leptin the most important, perhaps. And leptin has two great effects, and that is it reduces appetite and speeds metabolism. So with a lot of leptin, someone might lose weight because they're not as hungry, and yet they're burning more calories. The problem is when we lose weight, we lose leptin because it's made by the fat cells. And when you lose leptin, your metabolism will slow down and appetite will increase. That returns us to our previous set point weight. It makes weight loss very challenging.
Yeah, it's complicated. Okay, so that's one of the 5 factors of just general overall health is the oxidation. Is that what you call it? Or rusting?
Oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress. How about some of the others?
What we call rust. Now, the thing that has changed, we talked about things that have changed since the book was published 12 years ago. And that is that we've recognized now that while oxidative stress is a hazard in terms of aging, there is one place where oxidative stress is a benefit, and that is with exercise. When we exercise, we're asking our muscles to use more energy, that is to produce more of its own source of energy, to convert fuel into the source of energy, and that produces more free radicals. So the more exercise we do, that's actually producing some free radical stress. What's been new information is that is the factor that produces the muscle enlargement and strengthening. In other words, the fitness results from the oxidative stress. It's the stress by these free radicals that produces stronger muscles and better endurance and better muscle tone. And without creating oxidative stress, our muscles don't produce that adaptation.
Oh, interesting.
And here's what they found, which is helpful to you and some of your listeners, and that is, if someone takes antioxidants while they exercise, they don't get as much of a benefit from the exercise.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The antioxidants are inhibiting or blocking the effect that we get from exercise, which is to produce free radicals that make our muscles get better.
Okay, well...
And so you've been doing it wrong, and that is the antioxidants actually interfere with the benefits of exercise.
Okay, but that means like blueberries, raspberries, like fruit also with your antioxidants, avocado.
The natural antioxidants, you're right, and that is somebody that was, making sure they had a big fruit smoothie before they went out on their 2-mile walk or jog. They might not get as good a conditioning effect as somebody who waited until after the exercise to take the berries. So you're right that even foods might have a role here.
But if I take it after one, so I just wanted to clarify. So you said
so often, as you know, some people are taking antioxidant supplements. They're taking things like, vitamin C, vitamin A. They might be taking CoQ10, and these, it's found, are actually interfering with the body's ability to have a good response to exercise.
But the problem is, and in your book you suggest taking a multivitamin. Most of those multivitamins will have A and D and E, So,
some will have those antioxidant vitamins. A, C, and E are the common ones that would be in a multi.
Yeah.
And again, people are taking some other forms of antioxidants that might be actually derailing them in terms of their exercise goals. And so my recommendation to my fit patients is not to take an antioxidant when they're doing their exercise. That's something that they might incorporate in their food, or to take later in the day, perhaps when they're not exercising, so that they make sure they get the benefit from the exercise that they're doing.
Oh, brother.
Now, don't get me wrong, there's a much bigger effect here, CJ, and that's not on a supplement that somebody's taking with blueberries. That's on the quantity of food.
Right.
And when it comes to food, my opinion is that the quantity trumps the quality.
Okay.
In other words, if you had to get just one of those right, good quality or the right quantity, I'd recommend the quantity.
Right.
In other words, get the portion sizes right first.
Right.
Then get the quality of the food there.
Right. So don't stress out about this newest finding. I mean, it somewhat feels frustrating because I work out probably, if you include walking, which I do 2 times a week, like for about 4 or 5 miles, I work out 7 days a week. So that's just depressing. And I eat blueberries and raspberries because I thought they were antioxidants.
Well, here's a simple thing. You don't want to load up on antioxidant vitamins before you go out for
and I don't do that. And I don't even
and
take...
you're working against yourself on that.
And I'm not taking a multivitamin, but maybe I should after reading your book. Okay, well, how about some of these other 4 factors: the sludge, the waste, the rust, and heat?
Sure. Well, I'd say of all of the areas in Ultraprevention that I would consider groundbreaking, probably the most important is this area of heat or inflammation. If anything, the last decade has strengthened the information and evidence we have that inflammation is such an important factor to be addressed in everybody's life. And what's the discovery has been, we've known that, serious inflammation, like, bad arthritis, broken bones, high, levels of C-reactive protein are very dangerous. But the newer understanding is even subtle levels of inflammation that we can't feel are important. In other words, we would say subclinical levels of inflammation. You don't have a pain, you don't have a sore shoulder, you don't have
invisible thing, a
swollen knee, but even those very low levels of inflammation that can only be detected in the blood using advanced techniques are just as important. And so this idea that inflammation is one of the common underpinnings to the age-related conditions that we experience, very important discovery, I think, in the last 15 years.
Okay, so what is inflammation? And I know that in your book you mentioned a test that you can actually take, because you said you can't actually, if you're not visibly seeing it, you could still have an inflammation problem.
Sure.
What is inflammation and why does it matter?
Great question. Inflammation, I have a simple definition for it. It's a stress response of the immune system. And as you know, our immune system, it's our surveillance force and it's our defense force. It includes as many as 50 billion or more mobile cells that can travel throughout our body and know what's going on in every square inch of the body at every moment. The white blood cells are part of that system, and our white blood cell count is very instructive. If you look at your lab reports, you'll see that the normal white blood cell count can be up to 10,000 white blood cells, but that's per microliter of your blood. That means 10,000 white blood cells in a millionth of a liter of someone's blood. A millionth of a liter, if you took a pin and you picked your finger and the tiniest little tiny red dot came out of your finger, that's a millionth of a liter, and there's up to 10,000 white blood cells in that little drop.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, wow is right. I mean, it's more than wow. It's a huge, holy criminy, that's incredible. It's just amazing how many of those there are. And it turns out they communicate with each other. They have chemicals that they use to send signals. So one of the chemicals says something like, hey, we've got a little strep bacteria that just landed in the throat. Let's go up and kill it before it kills us.
Right.
Or, hey, buddies, there's an ingrown toenail down on the left little toe. Come on down and help us get rid of this infection.
Right.
And if we were able to eavesdrop on the conversation that our white blood cells are really having, we'd learn a lot about what's going on in our body. The trouble is we don't understand the language. We don't know how to talk to the white blood cells, or understand what they're saying.
Right.
But you mentioned a test that you could do, and yes, there is a test. The best test is the C-reactive protein. It's one of the so-called cytokines, the chemicals that the white blood cells produce to talk to each other. And so when we measure the C-reactive protein, what we're doing is we're eavesdropping on the conversation with our white blood cells, saying, hey, is there any chatter? It's like trying to eavesdrop on terrorists, are they saying that there's going to be a strike, Is there some kind of thing we should get ready for? Same thing with the white blood cells, and as when you measure the CRP, you're asking them, is there chatter, is there some kind of disturbance going on that we should be aware of?
Right.
And in fact, I tell people in my talks, it's kind of Flash Gordon-y stuff, but I really believe we'll get to the day where we won't need any more blood tests or scans or images or x-rays, because we'll just figure out the language of the white blood cells, and we'll just call up the white blood cells and say, hey, is the coast clear? And if it's fine, we'll call you next month, and
Right.
find it. Because
Yeah, like if I have allergies, so I actually have that inflammation when I take medicines to stop it, right? Because it's like, no, stop. No, you don't have to do that, please. But it sees an allergen and all that, the troops start marching over to my nose and then I can't
sure,
breathe, right? I
yeah,
mean, so those are the instances. But in the case of a strep throat, you want those troops to be
yeah.
marching up there
Yeah, see, that's
fighting.
the problem, and that is the immune system has evolved for a really important purpose, and that is protecting us from the germs that have been trying to kill us for the last 200,000 years.
Right.
The trouble is, it's only been the last 100 years where we've been dealing with heart attack and diabetes and cancer and the other killers, because until antibiotics were developed in 1930 or 29, we had no solutions for infections. It was all about our immune system being able to save us or not.
Right.
And so it became overdeveloped, overpowered. And, our immune system, it's kind of a one-trick pony. It knows one thing, and that is it knows germs.
Right.
It doesn't know allergies. It
Yes.
doesn't know cancer. It doesn't
Right.
know diabetes. It doesn't know heart attack. That,
Right.
unfortunately, is, mystery to the immune system.
Right. So it goes, you're all enemies to me because you're foreigners.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
foreigners,
exactly.
and I gotta go attack you.
Everything like it's a germ. So
Right.
it gets in your nose and that pollen, it thinks now it's a strep infection,
Yeah.
and it's going to
Yeah.
attack. So that's what's happening. Yep, you got it.
Okay. But we can actually take this test and see. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to take the test when you have like strep throat or anything like that because
No,
your
it
body's
wouldn't be
naturally.
surprising, at least. On the other hand, it's not good to have a strep throat.
Yeah, no, but if you
As you
take it
said-
on your normal day, then it's like, and it's high and you have nothing going on, and that goes, well, something's happening there.
Yeah, I think what you're going to hear more and more about in the coming years is, believe it or not, ways that we can safely suppress our immune system to have a better outcome, to have better results. So if we can suppress the immune system, we won't have a heart attack or a stroke. Well, there's already a medicine that does that. It's called Crestor or Lipitor or Zocor or Mevacor. They're immunosuppressants that protect against heart attack and stroke because they're reducing this reaction of the white blood cells that might be attacking a plaque in our heart or in the carotid arteries. So we've learned that suppressing the immune system sounds strange, but it's actually a desirable goal. It's one of the things we're trying to do is to prevent an overreaction by the immune system. In fact, when you have an allergy or when you have a cold or when you get, the flu, most of the symptoms are not caused by the virus. It's caused by our white blood cells' response to the virus.
Right.
And that is they're using these, what I call weapons of mass destruction inside our body to try to kill this thing. And it's the weapons that are affecting us, not the infection itself.
Okay, here's my question. So you told me about this one medicine now for heart that you mentioned that actually does work with your white blood cells. But my question is, because I then also read the very beginning of your book, where it's like this cascade of medicines. I take that one medicine and then it actually does some unintended thing that affects all these other 4 factors, and it creates like this cascading set of pills that I have to take.
You're absolutely right. And look, it's not just about medicine, CJ. It's not just medicine. It's medicines, it's herbs, it's vitamins, it's minerals, it's antioxidants, it's actually superfoods, smoothies. In other words, anything that you can take that has an effect in your body also has some kind of side effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's true of everything, and it's not just medicine, it's vitamins. For example, people want to take a vitamin. Okay, fine. Vitamins have some benefits. I know what they can do. They also can have some side effects. Take the common one, fish oil. Lots of great things about fish oil. It's really good for your brain to eat fish and have fish oils. It's good for your heart. It reduces inflammation, but it increases the chance of prostate cancer in men. And that's because everything that has an effect also has a side effect. And the reason is this. Some of the things in our body the conditions have different opposing forces. I'll give you an example. If someone has heart disease, in other words, bad circulation to their heart, a good thing for them would be to grow new blood vessels into their heart to supply more oxygen. In other words, they want to grow new blood vessels. Well, that's great for preventing heart disease. it's not great for preventing cancer, because if you've got cancer and you grow blood vessels into the tumor, you actually start to feed it. And so the strategy for cancer is choke off the blood vessels.
Right.
The strategy for heart is feed more blood vessels into the heart. And so by trying to protect your heart, you may be increasing the chance of cancer. And that's probably why things like fish oil have this strange dual effect of protecting the heart but increasing the likelihood of cancer.
It's hard to know what to do then.
Confused. Sorry.
I mean, it's very... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, now you're confused like
I
everyone.
am confused.
You know, what should we do?
Right, should I take vitamins? Because I thought you said I should take a multivitamin, so I was going to go march out and buy one and ask you which one to get. But then...
Well, here's another idea for you, because you know, so many people are saying I'm going to march out and get a multivitamin, and you have to remember, CJ, a multivitamin or anything that you can buy in a vitamin store would be considered a supplement. In other words, a supplement to your diet.
Right.
And it depends on what you eat. You know, if you're eating fruits and vegetables and the quantity is right and you're not overeating and you're not getting bad, dangerous foods, then you don't need much of a vitamin.
Okay.
If you eat fish and you enjoy it and you're eating the right kind of fish frequently enough, you probably don't need the fish oil.
Okay.
But if you live in Iowa and you can't get fish and you never touch it or you're allergic, well then the fish oil makes more sense, because remember, these are supplements to your diet.
Right. So the key thing to do, which is your step 1 that has like 2,500 steps underneath it. No, it doesn't have that. I was like, oh, it's going to take me more than
step
2 weeks
1A,
to do all these.
Step 1B, step 1C.
Yeah, it's going to take me 5 weeks to actually do all these things. No, it's not 2 weeks. But the key thing is actually eating well. That's the first line of defense, is eating well versus supplementing.
It is. And remember, when you have to define well.
Yeah.
And the first thing on well is the quantity.
Right.
Not the quality.
Right.
Let's first get the quantity right.
Right.
So I love that first question you asked me, how much should I eat? And it's a great question. And the answer is, we should try to eat no more than our appetite asks us to eat.
Right. I should eat 5 bags of Doritos. I think Doritos have like 400 calories. If you're going to eat crap, just eat within your quality, the whole day, each meal, bag of Doritos. I'm done. No, I know you're saying but I think actually that's an important distinction, because I think when you read this, I was like, I'm now getting overwhelmed. There are probably 50 action items here, but I think the key one is, if you're going to do one, start thinking about the quantity that you eat.
Get the portions first.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any other kind of key highlights about some of the other 3 that we haven't touched upon?
Yeah, well, we'll just jump ahead, because the next thing in terms of eating, because I think you're on a great track here, and that is, what's the first most important goal of eating? And that is, first, let's try to get the quantity right.
Okay.
The next goal, and I think it's a pretty important one and a great, easy one for people to kind of understand, eat more colorful foods. The colors in foods are the plant compounds that help promote health.
Mm-hmm.
So the blue in blueberries, the red in raspberries, the orange in orange juice, the orange in a sweet potato, the carotene. It's the colorful foods that bring the healthful ingredients into our diet.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I shop, I go down the supermarket aisle and I'm trying to find one of each of the colors.
Oh.
So I find something green, and then I gotta go get something red. Now let's get something orange, and I didn't get yellow yet, and I need something blue, and let's find something brown. And then I look down in the basket, and if it looks like a Monet, I know I'm doing okay. If I look in that basket and everything is white and brown, something's wrong. So there's a great way to think about shopping. And when you're building your plate, you do the same thing. And that is, maybe there's a white or brown thing there, but you've got to dress it up. You've got to get some color on there. So you're going to add some green. You're going to throw on a tomato. You're going to add some green beans. You're going to put in some arugula. You're going to get some of that purple lettuce. You're going to get some nice orange carrots on there, and build the colorful palette.
Right.
Then you're doing a good job at representing the food groups and the nutrients that are in the food. So the first thing is the quantity. The second thing is the color.
Right, the color.
Okay. The third one, and this one relates to the areas of inflammation and weight and a healthy digestive system, and that is getting the fiber sources. The fiber sources should be a primary goal of someone's diet, and the best fiber sources to look for are the ones low in calories but high in fiber. And the best foods, the first category, would be beans, your number one best source of dietary fiber.
Yeah, and a half a cup is what is a serving?
No, a cup.
A cup?
Half a cup is a serving. No, a half a cup is a serving, you were right. But your goal is a cup.
A cup by the end of the day? Oh,
yes,
Lord.
A cup of beans. Now, look, it can be a green bean, a string bean, a tea bean, a black bean, a garbanzo bean, a soy bean. I mean, you pick the bean. I don't care which one.
But I don't like any of those beans.
Hummus, garbanzo bean,
Okay,
that's chickpea. How about a split pea? How about a lentil? Can you have lentil?
I can eat hummus.
Hummus, okay, you got a bean there. How about edamame bean? You know,
I can do edamame.
Hey, we got two beans that you can eat. A garbanzo bean and an edamame bean. How about peanuts? Do you eat a peanut?
Yeah, I love
peanuts. Peanuts, you got a wonderful bean right there. It's a legume. Peanut is a bean.
Okay.
So you got 3 bean choices right there.
But I'm supposed to eat a cup of peanuts?
A cup of beans. No, a cup of beans. It can't be peanuts. So a cup of peanuts is going to have too many calories, as you know. So you're not going to be able to quantity.
I've had a cup of peanuts.
The quantity is wrong.
Yeah.
But how about a cup of bean salad? Would you do that?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I just imagine those big salad bars and the old people scooping up those bean salads, but now I know why.
How about a bowl of lentil soup?
Yes, I can do a lentil soup.
Come on.
All right.
I love lentil soup. I had that last night. I probably have it 4 times a week.
Yeah. Okay, so beans every day, 1 cup of beans.
Yep. Okay, you need a cup of something else per day.
I can do apples.
Berries.
Berries.
Yes. Either blueberry, raspberry, strawberries, cherries, blackberries, boysenberries, goji berry. I don't care what kind of berry. A cup of berries a day.
But not cranberries, right? My husband's like, don't cranberries count? And I said, no.
Cranberries count.
They do?
The trouble is, it's hard to eat cranberries because unless they're sweetened, they're incredibly bitter.
Well, he has these dried ones, the dried ones that you get.
You can eat them.
They're good? Okay.
Yeah, fine.
I was wrong then. They're like naturally sweetened, whatever, from Whole Foods. And I was like, no, eat blueberries. I'm such an awful boy.
This time of year, we don't have fresh berries here this time of year, of course. I mean, I'm buying frozen organic berries in bulk, 2-kilogram bag. They got the Ziploc. If a cup a day means that bag will last you roughly a week, so you can go through 1 2-kilogram bag of berries a week, and you keep them in the freezer. They're great.
Yeah. Okay. So you
have snacking on too.
One cup of beans, 1 cup of berries. Mix whatever you want. Pick the berry. How about like apples, pears? Those are easy for us in Washington State.
Yeah, fruits are fine, and they're a pretty good source of fiber. I like fruits. It's great, and they're not high in calories, so that's another good food to add in.
How about oatmeal? Oatmeal seems to be the one that my husband's doctor said, eat oatmeal. And I thought, why?
If you get the right kind of oatmeal, first of all, it is high in fiber. So the best kind is the so-called steel-cut oatmeal,
right?
Which is a whole grain oatmeal, as opposed to like your instant oatmeal, which is not, high in fiber. Right. But if you're getting the steel-cut or the whole grain oatmeal, it's quite high in fiber. A bowl of oatmeal, a usual bowl, will carry roughly about 10 grams of mixed fiber, which is a great way to get it.
Okay. All right.
So that's an excellent source of fiber.
All right, I can
there's
do
some
that.
calories, of course, with a bowl of oatmeal. It's much more, let's say, than a cup of beans or a cup of berries.
Yeah, a cup of oatmeal is 150 calories. A cup of beans is 45, 50. So, yeah.
So you'd rather, to get the quantity right again, you'd rather steer towards the beans, I guess. But, and people say, but, it's gassy, Doc. I don't like all the gas. And then I remind them, would you rather have a heart attack or fart? To me, it's pretty clear. The choices, and,
All right, fair enough. So the quantity is the first thing. Just, 1,600, 1,700 if you're a male, or 1,700 if you're male, 1,600 female, roughly.
Well, that's for us middle-agers.
Middle-agers.
Maybe
5'5", 5'10". We're both completely average in height. so, and then 100 calories after that. So quantity is the first thing, and then quality is the second, and just try to get like a rainbow a
Yeah, the
rainbow of
rainbow.
different things, of fresh
Yeah.
things on the produce
And the
side.
fiber, like beans and
Yeah,
berries.
berries and beans. What's the next thing? And I bet if we did that, we'd probably be satiated too.
You'd be satiated, sure. Because, boy, eat a cup of beans, you're full. It's
Yeah,
hard to, pack much more in there.
yeah. And I'm a little bit sad, but happy because you're gonna live longer. Okay. How
I'm
about
telling you to eat more. Come on, you can't be sad about that.
my husband hates lentils because he said my mom went through a lentil stage and all she did was make lentil soup for it feels like a year. I refuse to eat lentils, and he has a whole bean aversion. So it's a whole household with
Gotta
bean
beat him
aversion.
up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, he needs psychological help. All right, so is there a third thing on your list? The next priority is what?
Are we still talking about eating, or are we talking
No, you said if you're because I said your list is so long, it's going to take me more than 2 weeks to implement all these things. How about
so here's the next one on that.
Yeah.
And that is, there's times when the wheels come off, right?
Yeah,
And
Christmas.
holidays come around. The
Yeah.
cookies are there. Look, I had them. I know
Yeah.
what it's like. And, don't beat yourself up about that, because throwing, all caution to the wind for one day and eating all the wrong things does not affect your health in the long run.
One day, you're
No.
good. Elliot, one day off the
one day.
rails?
Yeah, I mean, for 12 days in a row, yeah, it does affect your health, but not for one day.
Okay.
So look, cut yourself some slack. One day, if the wheels come off, don't beat yourself up. Just say, all right, tomorrow I'm going to do better.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. I think most of us are more than one day. You're much more disciplined.
I don't know, but if the wheels really did come off for a day, yeah, I'll try to get back on track the next day.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the way I do it.
Yeah.
I do it by getting those beans, and making sure I get the berries, because then I'm not having the cookie, and the ice cream.
You mean the next day? So
Yeah, the next
would
day.
you like a cookie, or I'm sorry, I'm eating your whole bowl of hummus here on the side at your cocktail party. Give me some carrots and apples, and don't feed me any of those cookies. Okay, got it. So those are kind of the priorities.
Yeah.
Now I have a whole bunch of questions, and I think I'm going to check the viewers too. For folks, I'm sure you've had a bunch of questions in the background, because we've covered a large territory here, so I'm going to check to see if there are any questions here. Well, if you have any, folks can feel free to type in some questions. But I had a bunch of them that will probably last, a lifetime. All right, so in your book, the first thing you suggest is one of the factors is clear out the sludge, and one of the ways you do that is looking at oil. And so you look at all the different types of oil, and partially hydrogenated, hydrogenated oil, get rid of that. Also corn oil, saffron oil, or safflower, sunflower, soybean, get rid of those. All right, the one thing that I don't know about, that I literally have had, I'm like, no, I've heard that coconut oil is bad for you. No, it's not. Well, I've heard it is. And then we're like, well, I read this study. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with coconut oil. Do you have an opinion on coconut oil? Good, bad, indifferent?
Like a lot of things, it's the old adage, poison is in the dose.
Yeah.
Poison is in the dose, and that is, so many of these things really exert their effects by being at the right amount. And that is, too much of a good thing is still a bad thing, and that is, we need to really get the amounts right. When it comes to coconut oil, we just don't know what's the right amount. In other words, should we be using that as our only oil? Should that be a little supplemental oil? Are you going to put it on a piece of toast? In other words, how are we going to use it, and what's the right amount?
Yeah.
I don't believe that there's been enough study around the clinical effects of coconut oil in humans to draw conclusions about whether we should all be trying to add coconut oil to our diet.
Right.
Time will tell, I guess, if it proves to really be a solution for memory loss, or if it really does help us to have healthier hearts, and it's one of the healthy saturated fats. I'm going to reserve judgment. I just don't know.
Not sure. Okay.
Until I do know, I'm not going to be afraid of it, but I'm not going to supplement with it.
Well, the gal that I was talking to is a cook. She actually is a cook that cooks for other people, and she's like, I only cook with coconut oil. I'm like, well, God have mercy on your heart. Okay, so sugar. Stevia, is that an okay sugar?
No.
No?
No.
Why not? I thought it was an herb. I'm wondering whether this is causing my allergies because I eat a lot of stevia. What's the story of stevia?
Why?
Because it's not sugar and I like my coffee sweetened.
Oh, well, that's not a lot if you're just putting it in coffee.
Yeah, I'm talking 3 drops. Half a
I
packet.
don't think you got to worry about 3 drops, CJ.
No, I'm probably...
If you're baking a cake with stevia, different story, you know?
Yeah. Okay, but why did you say no?
Well, first of all, there's been a little bit of, I think, hocus pocus, pulled over on the wool pulled over on our eyes on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that is most of the manufacturers of artificial sweeteners or naturally artificial sweeteners, whatever you want to call stevia, because it is a natural substance that is, quote, non-caloric. The idea that they're promoting is you can have something sweet, but it's not giving you calories, and so it's a freebie. It's safe. There's no calories, and so...
And it's a natural herb, blah, blah, blah.
So no problem with it, because it's natural, and it doesn't add to the calories, and so it must be safe. And the answer is no, that's not true. Because even though human beings can't digest stevia and turn it into fuel, energy, the microbes that we all carry in our digestive tract can digest it just fine. And when we take stevia, we feed those microbes their fuel, and we're not sure if we're feeding the right ones. In other words, stevia may be promoting a crop of the wrong kind of microbes because we're giving those little microbes the food that they love, and that allows them to grow and reproduce. And those might not be the microbes that we would like to predominate in our gut. I will say this, and it's not in Ultraprevention, but it's in the current book I'm working on, and that is that the next decade of medical research will show that these microbes are probably a pivotal factor in affecting the body's immune system and the levels of inflammation by adjusting themselves on the food, based on the food that we eat. So if you're having too many stevia-sweetened foods, you may be altering the bacteria that you're carrying by feeding them.
Okay.
So it's not quite so much of a freebie as people think. And by the way, it's not just stevia, it's all of the non-sugar.
Right, there's supposedly other ones. Xylitol is one of them, I think.
There's many, but again, the microbes can digest them just fine.
Yeah, interesting. So you're affecting your stomach, gut health, the flora or whatever you call it.
That's right.
Okay, and then because of carbonated drinks, like including carbonated water, or is carbonated water fine?
Fine for what?
This is one of the no-nos, where you said carbonated soft drinks, including diet drinks, take them out. They're not really good for you. But then, is that any carbonated thing, including carbonated water, or is carbonated water fine?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, the carbonation is, when they're adding CO2 under pressure into the beverage, and then that comes out when you pop the lid, pop the top off the can. And it fizzes, and then some of the carbon dioxide is left inside the drink, of course. Sodas have a different issue, and that is there's lots of chemicals and artificial, flavorings, crap that they put in there that's, just sugar or artificial sweeteners that aren't healthy. So, that's the soda issue. But what about, like just carbonated or sparkling water?
Right.
The answer is it may, and I'll make a big may, have a deleterious effect on our bones by leaching a little bit more of the calcium from bones. And it's not clear how powerful an effect that is. There are people who have exclusively had carbonated water as their preference for many years, and it's not entirely clear, but that may have a negative effect on bone health. So, until, again, more studies are definitive, my advice is that carbonated water shouldn't be your primary choice of a beverage.
Yeah, and
it's fine to have with a meal. It's fine to have with a meal, but if you're drinking fluids during the day, it shouldn't be carbonated beverage.
Yeah, it's hard because it's so popular now. They have those little carbonated machines that people are making sparkling water every 2 seconds.
I'm not sure it's the right thing to do.
Maybe it's us. Do you do that? You're looking at me like West Coast people drink a lot of carbonated. Maybe it's a California thing. I'm in Seattle, but it seems like
I'm bi-coastal, so I know both sides. It's okay.
All right. So salt. You're saying eliminate salt, but then I hear that no, add salt, sea salt. They have, 700 minerals in sea salt. You need to add salt, not take away salt. So what's
I
your...
think we've seen some progress on the salt research since Ultraprevention was published, and we've learned a couple things. First of all, that different people have different tolerance for salt. Part of that has to do with your genetic ability to excrete salt. So when somebody has a salty meal, some people, when they pee, it's a salty urine.
Right.
Other people, they take salt, and the salt, it doesn't get excreted, and so it's retained, raising their blood pressure and affecting cardiovascular risk. So knowing if someone's salt sensitive or not might be helpful in giving them better salt guidelines.
Right.
At the same time, it seems like maybe the guidelines have been too strict for most Americans. We used to say, we should try to get under 3,000 milligrams per day, and some people need to get even lower, perhaps down around 1,300. They're relaxing that now, and that is, we're finding that for most people, they don't need to restrict salt or sodium quite to that degree, unless they're clearly the salt-sensitive individual that can't excrete the sodium. I think someday we'll come up with a salt loading test where we give you a salty drink and then see how salty the urine is, and we can then make a better guess about whether someone needs to restrict sodium or not. But the idea we should get rid of salt, no, I don't think so. And that is, we could potentially salt to taste, to flavor, as long as, we're not really overdoing it with sodium, or we're clearly salt sensitive. One way you can tell, kind of, is if salt makes you retain water.
Yeah, you're doing the ring test, right?
Yeah, the ring test is a good one, sure. Or the sock elastic test, where if you look, around your sock elastic and you pull it off and see if it's leaving a big line, a big indentation around your legs, then you're probably salt sensitive.
Right.
So that's one way to look at it.
Okay, so someone wanted to ask us, what if you have kidney issues?
Well, with kidney issues, then the electrolytes become very important to manage. So, for example, one of the electrolytes that the kidney excretes and eliminates is potassium. And potassium is highly dangerous if it accumulates in the blood. It can stop your heart. And so people that have impaired kidney function have to be very careful about dietary sources of potassium because they can't excrete or eliminate it. And the same would be true with both salt and water. So if somebody had kidney impairment, salt and water would put more strain on the kidneys and could potentially cause a problem. So your listener is right in that, absolutely correct. If there is kidney condition, then the electrolytes have to be managed very carefully. And it raises another question, and that is, what about special diets for special people in certain conditions? And it's funny because if you ask a doctor, should I be on a special diet, most will say, oh no, diet doesn't matter. But it's crazy because doctors themselves prescribe at least a dozen different therapeutic diets. There's a diabetic diet. There's a DASH diet for hypertension. There's a renal kidney diet. There's a lung diet, so people with emphysema should eat more fat, less carb. So all of these conditions, there's a celiac diet, people that have celiac disease. So doctors commonly prescribe therapeutic diets all the time. We believe in it. Every single doctor. So if you ask your doctor the question, should I be on a special diet? You might have to ask the question twice. Should I be on a special diet because of my asthma? Should I be on a special diet because of my kidney problem? Should I be on a special diet because of my diabetes, etc.? And now you're talking the language that your doctor understands. Because we know that there's a special diet for a particular condition.
I don't understand your point about special diets. So you're just saying that doctors will actually have, because their specialties are focusing on, okay, well, you have a kidney issue, here's your kidney-oriented diet, but they're not looking at the whole person. They're just looking at kidneys.
If a general person comes in asking for dietary advice, most doctors say, it doesn't matter. Or try to, eat less fat, or they'll give you something like that. But think more about the individual, and that is, what is it we're trying to solve here? What is it we're trying to address? Is it weight? Is it diabetes risk? Is it somebody with, allergies? What are we trying to solve? And that's how you give better dietary advice.
Okay, got it. Versus just like, here's the sheet on,
sure, everybody should be eating like this.
Eat walnuts, or whatever it is.
No, diets need to be tailored for the individual.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left. I had another question about decaf coffee, of which I'm kind of drink a ton of decaf coffee.
Why?
Is it as bad? I don't know. I'm in Seattle.
Why not caffeinated coffee?
Well, because it says to reduce caffeine intake. I've read that many times.
Yeah, another place where we were wrong 11 years ago on that
Yeah.
book, and that is we should all be increasing our coffee intake, because
What?
since then they've showed that if we drink up to 6 cups of coffee a day, we get an additive benefit in terms of disease prevention and disease burden. Meaning, coffee has become a health drink in the last 12 years.
What?
And
Oh my
yeah,
God.
and that is, even in the Seattle area, you've got some healthy people there, and that's largely because you've got a good coffee drinking population. I will say just one thing, and I know we're probably running short on time, but when it comes to coffee, once you get to 3 cups, and at least until 6 cups, there's an increasing benefit to more coffee. So lately, I've been trying to increase my coffee intake, and not on decaf, on the regular coffee.
Wow.
But the coffee needs to be brewed the proper way.
Okay.
And the proper brewing method for coffee should be brewed by dripping through a brown paper filter. The reason is the paper, or the brown filters, aren't bleached, whereas the white paper is, so no bleach. And the paper is required to remove a compound called cafestol, which is an alkaloid naturally found in coffee beans that can raise the LDL, or bad cholesterol. And so some people are struggling trying to lower their cholesterol, but it's because they've been using a French press or percolated coffee, or drinking espresso, as opposed to using a paper filter method of brewing.
Yeah, because in Starbucks, I'm pretty sure that they use...
They use paper.
Yeah, oh, they do, brown paper. I wonder. I'll go ask.
I don't know if it's brown. It depends on your location.
Yeah, wow, fascinating. This is literally, I could talk to you about like a month about all this stuff. It's so fascinating. And I have more questions. It's crazy. So we've been talking to Dr. Mark Liponis about his book, Ultraprevention. I really think this is kind of your operating guide for your body. You know, there's some things that we talked about as updates, especially the coffee one, which I'm like thrilled beyond belief to hear.
There you go. It's your day.
It is my day. Thank you so much.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show, and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.